Hello. So there are three big ways that stand out when it comes to how I raised my vibration throughout the last 4 to 5 years. I'm going to share the story with you today, and I'm gonna film some footage so you can enjoy the park with me. When I had my awakening, first step was orienting myself on a situation I was in at the time. I needed to know what was making me suffer, because I was in a lot of pain back then. I was 19 at the point that my awakening got triggered. Circumstances required a phase that I'm now gonna name Radical Honesty Phase. I was 20 when I realized this was the only way to move forward. How I did it was I accepted the fact that there wasn't anything that I truly looked forward to in the future. Reality felt like a slap in the face from my higher self, telling me it's time for me to do some finding myself because no one was coming to save me. And I realized that by making superficial plans, I was lying to myself. It didn't feel right because suddenly it was super obvious that the past was gone and I really needed to orient myself toward the future. It became a big and very clear mission for me that I urgently need to understand what I require for this new future. And so I decided to make space for detached observations and difficult emotions, my biggest priority. I knew that those were the aspects begging for my attention. Radical honesty phase meant that I would realize that I felt horrible and drained in what was supposed to be a friendship. It meant that I had to observe that I was desperate for alone time, aka hermit mode phase, for moving out and for learning self-sufficiency. It also meant that I had to observe myself and my role in the whole situation and what I was lacking. The good side of it is that it was what gave me feedback on what to pursue, whether it was a new addition to my daily routine or designing a plan for the next 6 months where I would feel better, all the way to bringing the plan into reality as gracefully as I could so that it will keep allowing me to understand more about myself. I remember I did it by journaling first and foremost. I allowed myself to speak from a place in which I didn't give a shit about the outcome because I kind of truly didn't. I trusted that I wasn't a bad person at heart and I just really needed it to show, so why not trust this heart? And so I took the leap of consciously discrediting all the noise that didn't directly speak to that part of me. I realized that things aren't as they seem. It's up to me to give them meaning. Being radically honest about my emotions allowed me to notice that in some situations, peace was available, opposed to what was happening at my home, for example. Admitting my emotions gave me the focus that I needed. It became my priority to understand what's on the other side of those emotions that people around me really weren't fans of. And I was rewarded. But this is a story for another day, so if you want to know about it, let me know in the comments. Journaling based on allowing myself to explore honesty allowed me, for example, to see how me meeting up with this other person was a hoax because I didn't even want to head in that direction. It wasn't a no-brainer really. This friend from high school was toxic and there were unhealthy habits involved. Me staying there also did no one no good. It can be difficult, but in each of our lives, there are moments where we have to admit this isn't our place to stay, despite what the other person believes. It starts with asking yourself the truth, and actually first it starts with making space for that. So this was what I find to be a foundational step to raising your vibes. getting as deep in your truth as you can, one day at a time. Rushing it actually isn't helpful. I even had this rule back then that what was most important was just getting through that day without distractions, minimizing distortions. So this is how I would formulate this for you as well. If you want to use the tip to journal, remember it's like when you want to do a project, but first other things like inspiration have to happen for this to be possible. For the second step, I want to talk about something practical. It's good to be able to rely on practical things when you're on a spiritual journey. It also required a lot of time for questioning the old ways for me, but I landed with very solid answers that sustain me to this day. Still, back when I was 20 and I knew I wasn't feeling well, my attitude got like, I have nothing to lose, so might as well try it better and prove myself that I'm miserable even when I eat better. And I'm not saying healthy because that's very undefined. I'm saying I needed to learn what better meant for me. This step let's call discovering the correlation between food and health. I learned that coffee wasn't serving me, so cutting it out helped a lot. I learned that I loved matcha instead. I learned I wanted to have more avocados, more blueberries, and less white flour in my diet. And I actually ended up discovering awesome recipes in the process. And so the second profound thing I did was getting more meticulous and conscious about what I was feeding this body. This meant having a list of things that I learned were a clear bad idea to my well-being, like that coffee, white flour, or alcohol, which took me some time to admit I didn't like, or even pills that I was prescribed at that stage. I just found that I didn't want to rely on numbness in the daylight. I wanted to know I can rely on myself even when sad, and I still absolutely believe this was the right decision for me. Conscious eating also meant finding foods that felt uplifting. In this case, I believe they can change depending on where you are on your life journey, but there are things that generally don't fail. For me, they're avocados, matcha, millet, sweet potatoes, spinach, quinoa, etc. Third step is the constant practice of choosing what you surround yourself with. So, surrounding yourself with what you care about and having what belongs in the past and no longer serves you be removed. In both cases, we have to be after some deep digging first, and this is why the first step was so important. By what you care about, I don't mean something someone convinced me into caring for. And this step for me involved a huge portion of my own initiative coming from the depths. Like when I realized I actually cared about the quality of food, the quality of my surroundings, or that I wanted to pursue high vibrational experiences. Similarly, it was only after noticing that too much distraction is bad for my health that I clear-headedly started to remove the opportunities that didn't feel like the ones for me, as I always struggled with too much noise coming from the outside for my soul's taste. One which maybe consider a big one was quitting uni. I can do a story time on this one as well, but let me know. Step by step, by listening, I started to find simple daily activities that were nourishing my spirit and seriously proved that I didn't need much else. I found that connecting to a spiritual teaching once a day that my deep truth told me I have yet to learn, even if it was on YouTube, would both nourish and excite me. I found that exercising daily can be like a gift to myself, a gesture of offering to both myself and God in gratitude for my health. I found reward in little things like learning to set boundaries. There weren't always clear solutions to my sorrows, but there was always a feedback. More interestingly, a soothing feedback when you listened well. With a solid foundation within yourself, I learned it is easy to be patient for what is to come next. I hope this was helpful to someone. Please like and subscribe if you feel like it. And until next time.